Relationships between women have various disparities. And one of those disparities I will be discussing today is regarding sexuality and sexual orientation amongst women who identify as bisexual, and how they interact or select relationships between males and females. And I've titled my video today, Bisexual Women Rarely Date or Marry Women. I am Giselle Wallace, certified life coach and author. Here on my YouTube channel, I provide my lesbian perspective, and if that interests you, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. So I've titled my video, Bisexual Women Rarely Date or Marry Women, not because it is my personal opinion, but because it is a fact. And in my observations as a life coach, but also as a same-sex attracted woman who identifies as lesbian, I have met bisexual women who, for the most part, were either dating a man, cohabitating with a man, or married to a man. But yet they still identified as bisexual women. And the reason why they identify as bisexual women is because these women recognize and are aware that they have an attraction for both males and females. They are not considered to be homosexual or heterosexual. But yet, the majority of bisexual women, you will never know that she is bisexual because her relationship choices primarily are with males or men. And to be honest, I don't really know when a woman is bisexual when she is in a relationship with a man. And what I mean by that is, when you are observing people who are in relationships, if they are in a relationship with someone of the opposite sex, it is assumed that the two people involved identify as heterosexual because they are in a relationship with someone of the opposite sex, whether you are a male or a female. However, although they may be in a relationship that is a heterosexual relationship, that does not mean or negate the fact that they identify as bisexual. So bisexuality basically means that a person has attraction for both genders or both sexes. And the attraction is both physical, emotional, mental, as well as spiritual and sexual attraction to both genders and or sexes. Now, there are bisexual women who will have variations on their attraction towards a specific sex, meaning there are bisexual women who feel more drawn to the opposite sex in an emotional and or sexual manner. They have a higher intensity or degree of attraction in some cases to one sex or gender more than the other. So it can vary. But according to research, bisexual women tend to establish relationships with men instead of with women. And the reasons why they establish relationships with men instead of women vary. But I want to acknowledge that bisexuality is a sexual orientation, because there are many people who do not believe that bisexuality exists, or there are people who believe that being bisexual is a trend or a phase. And some people believe that bisexuality is a form of being greedy or having a scarcity mindset. For example, there are bisexual people who are stereotyped as wanting to have their cake and eat it too. In other words, they're never satisfied. They want to have access to both sexes and or genders out of selfish and or greedy, entitled feelings and or desires. But these are stereotypes, and stereotypes can be very destructive, misleading, and they may not be true or accurate or applied to a specific person or group of people. And in this context, referring to bisexual people, or more specifically, bisexual women. So being bisexual is a sexual orientation. And many people confuse bisexuality with being a temporal feeling, or they view it as a way of living in a fantasy world. But sexual orientation is not a choice, and sexual orientation is not a preference. And if you listen to bisexual people discuss their experience as being a bisexual person, you will learn that their attractions for both sexes and or genders is not something that disappears, fluctuates, or changes. Their sexual orientation is consistent in who they are attracted to, romantically, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and or sexually. In other words, their attraction to male and female is always constant. It is not temporary. It's not a phase, and it is not a trend. And when bisexual people recognize and acknowledge their sexual orientation as being bisexual, they are very confident about their sexual orientation, and they're very serious about their sexual orientation. And so I believe that bisexuality is a real sexual orientation. And I do not believe that bisexuality is temporal or trendy. Now, regarding bisexual people making relationship choices, I do believe that relationships vary according to your sexual orientation. But I do not believe that sexual orientation is a choice. I do not believe that sexual orientation is a preference. And many bisexual people are falsely accused of having a preference in a sex or gender. But it's not a preference, because a preference is optional. And their sexual orientation is not optional regarding who they choose to be attracted to. Bisexual people are bisexual because they are attracted to both males and females. It's not something that they can change or maneuver. It's not optional. So that's why being bisexual is not associated with having a preference in who they are attracted to, because they are attracted to both sexes and or genders without a choice. Now, what is known, and what I also agree with, is bisexual people, and to focus on the topic at hand, bisexual women, they do have a choice in who they choose to have a relationship with. In other words, they can choose which sex, male or female, who they want to have a relationship with. But bisexual women are not able to choose their attraction in males and females. That is ingrained. That is innate. They cannot erase the fact that they are attracted to both males and females. Bisexual women will choose to date men and marry men instead of women. And I will provide proof that this is not my opinion, or it's not just a general assumption. It is actually proven that bisexual women choose male partners to date or marry instead of women in high numbers. Meaning, bisexual women, for the most part, in the majority will choose to be with a man instead of a woman when it comes to dating and relationships. Now, I want to specify the difference between being in a relationship with someone and being in a sexual encounter with someone. Because bisexual women will date and marry men in higher numbers than they will date or marry women. But dating someone and marrying someone is quite different from having a sexual encounter with someone. Now, bisexual women may have sexual encounters with women, meaning they will have sexual relations with women, but that does not mean that bisexual women are dating women. And it does not mean that bisexual women are marrying women. And it is proven. The massive 2013 Pew Research LGBT Survey found 84% of self-identified bisexuals in committed relationships have a partner of the opposite sex, while only 9% are in same-sex relationships. Slate.com 2016. So there was a massive survey conducted by Pew Research for LGBT people, and they found that 84% of self-identified bisexuals in committed relationships have a partner of the opposite sex. That is a astronomically high number. Less than 10% of people who identify as bisexual are in same-sex relationships. So this is a proven statistic. It is a fact that bisexual people in high numbers will date and marry people of the opposite sex. So I mentioned earlier that I really don't know a woman is bisexual because most bisexual women who I have met are in relationships with men. So when you are in a relationship with someone of the opposite sex, that is considered to be a heterosexual relationship. So many bisexual women are considered to be heterosexual women. There are even statistics. I've researched the statistics myself, and I will say this falls into bi-erasure. Bi-erasure is when bisexual people are considered to be non-existent, or they try to erase the fact that bisexual people exist. So that's why they call it bi-erasure. But there are statistics that will not reveal, or they will omit information about bisexual people, and specifically bisexual women. They won't provide accurate statistics about bisexual women because they will include bisexual women in the same statistics as heterosexual women. Or when they do reveal the actual numbers of bisexual women are often considered to be women who are involved with men. So they won't really define bisexual women as women who are involved with women. So they put them in two categories. They refer bisexual women to being heterosexual women, or they refer bisexual women to being women who are involved with men. So they will negate bisexual women from being women who are involved with women. Now, statistically, there are more bisexual women than there are lesbian women, but heterosexual women outnumber bisexual women and lesbian women. Now, you may be wondering, why do bisexual women choose to be in relationships with men instead of women? Well, there are reports that because there are more heterosexual people in the world than there are homosexual people, bisexual women find it easier to be in a heterosexual relationship because of the fact that there are more heterosexual people than there are same-sex attracted people. There are also reports that many bisexual women feel like they can relate more to men than they can to women. They have more experience with men than they do with women. Now, the reasons why that bisexual women feel like they can relate more to men than to women, well, that's based on the individual. But for example, there are bisexual women who are more familiar with being in a relationship with a man than they are with a woman. So it's based off of familiarity. It's also based off of your upbringing. Most bisexual women are conditioned to date and marry men. Most bisexual women have come from heterosexual upbringings and families and environments. So it's pretty much a programming that women are to be with men. So bisexual women will default to being with men instead of being with women. And then there are reports that bisexual women often feel pressure to date and marry the opposite sex. So there's a lot of conformity that bisexual women resort in dating and marrying men because they want to conform to a heteronormative society. There are also reports that bisexual women experience homophobia and biphobia. Unfortunately, there are many bisexual women who have a disdain or prejudice against homosexuality and bisexuality, even though there are women or females who identify as bisexual. They still experience self-hatred, or they do not agree with homosexuality or bisexuality, either for personal reasons or religious reasons. So these different variations impact why bisexual women choose to date and marry men in majority numbers. So this concludes that most bisexual women are dating and married to men, as opposed to bisexual women dating and marrying women. Those are the statistics. And this is why I have titled my video, Bisexual Women Rarely Date or Marry Women. Now, I mentioned earlier that there is a huge difference between dating and marrying someone and just being involved with them sexually. There are many bisexual women, because of their sexual hang-ups and them conforming to heteronormative relationship standards. Many of them are not self-accepting of their bisexuality, and they will choose to date men and marry men instead of women because of their belief systems. Many of them are founded in religious beliefs that homosexuality and bisexuality is unnatural, an abomination, or immoral. And because bisexual women have the natural ability to be attracted to both men and women, it is much easier for them to choose to date and marry men. And it's easier for bisexual women to fit in with heterosexual women. This is statistically proven. And so bisexual women, they don't have to deal with the discrimination and the homophobia and the biphobia, which is projected upon same-sex attracted women, and the misogyny, because there's a lot of bisexual women who take on the mindset and personalities of their heterosexual male counterparts, whether they are just male friends or males that they're related to, or men who they are involved in relationships with. They take on the same mindset of these men who they are heavily involved with, and they develop a way of life where they believe that being with a man is better than being with a woman because of misogyny. And this is very unfortunate. And this is why there is a lot of division amongst bisexual women and women who identify as bisexual or lesbian, because bisexual women, although they may get involved with women sexually, many bisexual women are on the down low or they're closeted. Now, the ones who openly admit that they're bisexual, they still live a life of a heterosexual woman. And in many cases, they create a lot of dysfunction and division when it comes to relationships between women, because of their thoughts about being in relationships with women is very derogatory. They do not believe that they can have a lifelong relationship with a woman. They believe that being in a relationship with a man is ideal or preferred or more sustainable. But a lot of this mentality that bisexual women develop is because of their heavily involvement with men. Many bisexual women are male-centered. And that's just the truth. When you just listen to how they think and how they operate and move in life, it is very unfortunate, but many bisexual women, they will run away from the responsibility of being in a relationship with a woman because they don't want to deal with the attacks that many lesbian women experience. Lesbian women are female homosexuals. They are exclusively attracted to women only. They have relationships with women only and exclusively. But because bisexual women have the ability to be attracted to both men and women, they choose to be with men instead of women because they don't want to deal with a lot of the hardships that being in a relationship with a woman may actually have to face or endure in same-sex attracted relationships between women. And many bisexual women, because of the familiarity of being with men, they are just more comfortable dating and marrying men only instead of women. I do believe that until bisexual women develop self-love, self-acceptance, and a knowledge about sexual orientation, same-sex attraction, and also build up their relationships with women, not necessarily meaning that she has to date or marry women, but if she just learns more about being a woman, appreciating the female sex and womanhood, and developing friendships with women and learning more about lesbian women and even bisexual women, to where she is able to build a healthy self-esteem and self-image of herself as a bisexual woman. Until she gets to that point of self-love and self-awareness, then she will always miss out on the freedom and the opportunity to be loved and to love a woman. I do not believe that same-sex attracted women who identify as bisexual should limit themselves in their capacity to love. Yes, you can choose which sex or gender who you will date or marry, but when the choices that you make omit who you are fully as a bisexual woman, then it will hinder your growth as well as prevent you from living your life to the full. When you are not in love with yourself and in love with women, then you will choose to be with men. But being with a man does not mean that you are better than a woman who is with a woman. It does not mean that you are better than lesbians. It does not mean that you are better as a woman simply because you are with a man. I am Giselle Wallace, certified life coach and author. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you are needing to receive one-on-one life coaching, I am available. You can contact me. My website is www.gisellewallace.com. Thank you for listening and love yourself.